Hey guys, it's Steph. It's kind of an impromptu live because I'm having trouble uploading a video to YouTube. What else is new? And it's my system. It's not, you know, any trouble with the channel. Just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about 9/11. I'm in my house. This dude needs to be fed. There he is. Aw. He went for a long walk today, so he's finally leaving me alone. He's a good boy, though. Anyway, where was I on 9/11? Well, at the time I was working in Arlington, Virginia, right across the river from the U.S. Capitol, D.C. And we were going about our day. It was a beautiful day. The thing about it was, the thing about DC is that the air traffic is just so it's apparent and it's there all the time. You've got airplanes from Dulles and Reagan, and you got airplanes from Andrews Air Force Base flying around, and it's just one of those days. It's just apparent there. It's just one of those things, and it was a good day to go to work. It was a beautiful day, so get to work. Boss got my cup of coffee from the coffee shop down the street. Sat down, talked to my boss, and then secured my person in my desk because I was doing a get out the vote class. I was working at the Leadership Institute at the time, and started walking over to the elevator, and Mike Krimpaski, who was one of my coworkers, was like, "You gotta come and see this. An airplane hit the Pentagon or hit the World Trade Center." I'm like, "What?" So I stopped what I was doing, walked over and walked into the conference room, and Fox News was on, and there it was, smoke coming out of the first tower. And it's like, are you kidding me? What the hell is going on here? And couldn't quite believe what I was looking at. So we watched Fox News, and all the gang from Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade, Steve Ducey, and the blonde, whose name I can't remember, were up on the roof. And as they're talking, not noticing behind them, you see an airplane streaking across the sky and hits the World Trade Center. Second plane. Okay, not an accident now. Historically speaking, it is not a rare occurrence. It has happened before. And a B-25 in 1945 hit the Empire State Building. So, it's a weird occurrence, but it's not a rare one. Wow, okay. So I immediately thought, it's terrorism. You don't get two. One is weird, one's an accident. Two is not an accident, and it's not a coincidence. Okay. So all hell broke loose, and we ended up having to evacuate our building because the Leadership Institute is across the road, the street from the Defense Intelligence Agency. And wow, every time I remember it, we had to go help the interns pack out because we had an intern house, pack them into the cars and take them to, I'm going to say, Falls Church, and to our Leadership Institute's Vice President of Programs house, Lou Barnett's, and we got there in time to see the first tower fall, that one building collapse that Giuliani was in, and then the second one. By the time I got home, it was, I don't know if I can even talk about this anymore. It's just so unbelievable. Just fucking got home after, I talked to my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, and he was going to the Marine Corps School of Advanced Warfare at Quantico, And they turned him back. They turned him home and said, "Go back to your apartment. We'll call you if we need you." Okay. And I got home after talking to my mom and my sister, and my roommates and I watched the news for the rest of the night. And, we were wondering who did it. Well, I knew who did it. There's a book by a guy, I'm going to say his name is Peter Bergen. He wrote a novel, or not a novel, a book called Bin Laden, the Man Who Declared War on America. You want to read a good book, and it's actually interviews with that son of a bitch. Read it. So I pretty much figured it was him because we'd been, our heels been yipped at for almost a decade by that filthy thing. And, he brought it, he allowed his boys to bring it to the shore. I always wonder, if Clinton had done what he was supposed to do and actually done his job as president and had bin Laden killed, would we have, back when the CIA actually had a chance to kill him, would, there was no political wherewithal, and Bill Clinton didn't really give a shit. As long as the terrorist attacks were not on American soil, even then, you gotta wonder if the fat, garbage-eating fuck would have done anything anyway. You wonder why I'm not a Democrat? All men are either like Bill Clinton, or they're like that FBI agent Peter Strzok. They're not normal people. They're not good men. They're just not. I don't know a Democrat who is. But anyway, but I'm not a Republican either. So don't start. If Clinton had done what he was supposed to do, and they had a Barrett sniper rifle, 50 caliber sniper rifle, crosshairs on bin Laden's head, and Sandy Berger hangs the phone up on the agent. As cool of a guy Bill Clinton inflates himself to be, he's not nearly as cool as the president. He would have said, take him down. Is he? Now, would this have stopped 9/11? I don't know. Because Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the various loosely, they were coordinated, but they weren't connected. The cells that perpetuated 9/11 were not connected. That's one thing about it. Oh yeah, it is. The cells were organized. The only person I think they really had any contact with was Mohammed. But, and Atta was the de facto leader, but they weren't really, they didn't all meet. It wasn't like a meeting of the Mafia Commission. It was, there was a group in here, there's another group there. They traveled around. They learned how to fly but not land airplanes in the USA because, we can't, let's put it this way. Global, New World Order globalists who don't believe in borders or security don't think it's very nice if you tell people who you're suspicious of, no, you can't come into our country. So, yeah, I don't care if you're a student and you only want to learn how to fly an airplane. You can learn how to fly it. You don't want to learn to land? Oh, that's okay. But because we had a president and an administration through the 90s that just didn't give a fuck, we got 9/11. So I don't blame George W. Bush at all. His administration came in behind the 8 ball. They had 9 months to play catch up. And I'm going to tell you something. It takes a long time to develop intelligence, like a long time. You can wait years for something to suddenly make sense so you can actually do something about it, okay? Anyway, and I just remember, feeling like, the people who were killed, and I'm going to say Rick Rescorla, who was a hero of the Idrang Valley in Vietnam. He was, I think, the head of security at Morgan Stanley. John O'Neill, who, interestingly enough, had been the head of the FBI's counterterrorism unit, who knew bin Laden well, was the head of World Trade Center security. They were both killed trying to help people get out. In fact, John O'Neill himself said the night before on a boat trip around Manhattan, I wonder what my old friend Osama's up to, because they hadn't heard from him in a while. But they were props. All these people, my friend Deborah Burlingame's brother, Chick, he was a pilot of the airplane that hit the Pentagon. He was a prop. Barbara Olson, her husband was a Solicitor General of the United States. She was a prop. All the people, the countless nameless people that we don't know, were props. And these guys were such great Muslims that they made sure they killed a bunch of Muslims too. Because it wasn't just Christians and capitalists and Americans, regular white folks working at the Trade Center that they killed and were watching this. It was Muslims. Okay? So, and the thing about it was, when you think about it, a terrorist writes, directs, and produces the event. And us, we witnesses, are the audience. And the victims are the prop. They're props. When you start thinking about it like that, you suddenly realize you have a clue into what kind of people they really are and what is going on behind their thinking. All right. Then, when you look at it, a terrorist event, an Al-Qaeda event, as theater rather than an attack, you have a handle on them a little bit, I think. But anyway, this is just a really weird, sad day. And I remember the next morning going to work and walking outside. It was a beautiful morning. It was a beautiful morning. Birds singing, squirrels running around. The only planes I heard were the fighters flying air cover over DC. That's it. That was the difference. Hello. Hey, Birdie. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to ramble a little bit about 9/11 because, I was in DC for it. The week after it happened, there's a hill above the Pentagon where the airplane hit, so we all went up to watch it, to go look. And you could smell the burning electrics. There was still smoke billowing out. It was quite a frightful thing. And, when I look on it now, 19 years later, and I wonder if I'm still angry, yeah, I am. When bin Laden was killed, I celebrated. But in reality, I would have rather have seen the president be proactive in the 90s and get rid of the son of a bitch when he had the chance. And there was tons of intelligence about bin Laden. Let's go through the attacks, Al-Qaeda attacks on the United States before 9/11. Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia, Mogadishu, the embassies in Africa, the USS Cole, all Al-Qaeda attacks. And Bill Clinton and with his girlfriend, Monica Lewinsky, George Bush called it America's decade away from history, and I think he was right. But I have problems with him too. I don't, in retrospect, don't agree at all with going into Iraq. There are ways to deal with a dictator like Saddam Hussein without putting boots on the ground. There are even some ways of dealing with Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan where they were, without putting boots on the ground. You know, we're pulling out of Iraq now. I find it fascinating that the people in the opposing party at the time, the Democrat Party, who are screaming about us going into another war, Afghanistan or Iraq, and even bitching about Afghanistan, because they really don't give a shit if Americans were killed or if we had targets on our backs, because they're not patriots and they don't give a shit about the country. They were bitching about Iraq and now they don't want us to leave. And you wonder why I find the establishment parties, especially the Democrat Party, to be fucking phony. There you go. You bitched about Iraq when we went in. You bitched about the money we were spending. You bitched about all of it. And now here we are, Trump wanting to pull us out, and you guys are bitching again. Oh, I can't wait for the anger and outrage you people are going to perpetuate when you see that Bahrain is normalizing relations with Israel. All right, with the Iraq war before it started, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was in Bahrain planning the Iraqi invasion. All right? So what is the aftermath of 9/11? Bin Laden's dead, but that's almost an afterthought now. Al-Qaeda really has been slammed into the ground. We have problems with worse people. I think ISIS is worse because they're a little more unpredictable and they're not as professional. At least you could say that the Al-Qaeda network at least had a functioning rational head on it. They were sociopaths to it. I mean, big time. But, and so that's one aftermath. ISIS. The disappearance of Saddam Hussein, the execution of him, which actually in lots of ways, and I'm saying this as someone who's sophisticated enough to understand how world politics plays out, it kind of grossed me out. That happened in 2006. I remember very well because Sean Hannity was on the TV at the time, and my husband and I were watching it, and he was like, "Turn that off. I can't watch this. Turn it off." I mean, he's a Marine Corps colonel, all right, saying, "Turn that off." I mean, regicide to me is a heinous thing, unless their names are Adolf Hitler. Unless, you know what I'm saying? There has to be it was bad. And that's another thing. Saddam Hussein, the Ba'athist Party's gone. To what end? Who fills up the vacuum? The world's leading sponsor of terrorism, Iran. That's not good. And when you think about it, who in the hell was telling the president, "Don't worry, they'll all want to have a democracy like we have"? They have no concept of that. Okay? I mean, if you go to Afghanistan, they have the Loya Jirga, and their idea of wealth is how many goats people have. It's called the wealth of poverty. They don't understand any of the things that we take for granted. Even in Iraq, and Iraq is a much more sophisticated country. And then you've got Syria becoming and ISIS sort of takes over that thing of the fundamentalist crazy going on. So that's an outcome of Iraq and 9/11. The death of swift action and ridding the world of a horrible terrorist, a sponsor of terrorists. I gotta watch my dog while I'm doing this. The death of al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS. I mean, he was a rapist. He raped an American woman, kidnapped and raped an American woman and strangled her to death. Do I feel bad about that? Fuck no. All right. It's not It doesn't have anything to do with Islam. It has everything to do with attacking innocent people, putting a target on America's back because, for some fucked up reason, I mean, because you don't like Britney Spears. I mean, when you think about it, that's the problem. That's why this all happened. Now, they're still trying to get an agreement resolved between the Taliban and Al Qaeda, and it's still going on. Yeah, you stay right there, little man. You stay right there. Okay, I'm gonna have to go pretty soon. So that's going on, and we're pulling out of Iran, and the so-called peace-loving leftist Democrats are freaking out about it. That's an aftermath of 9/11. Aftermath of 9/11, Barack Obama being president and America swinging away from the hard left to a more centrist. And I'm going to tell you this, you're not going to like to hear it, but Donald Trump is not a Republican. He's a blue dog Democrat, okay? And he has basically taken a hammer and smashed establishment politics forever. He's changed everything. And that's an aftermath of 9/11. We have the Patriot Act, which, when you look at it, is basically an attack on individual liberty. That's an aftermath of 9/11. That's part of 9/11. I remember I was on the Hill working for Dick Armey when that was going on, when the Department of Homeland Security was being debated. I was working in the personal office of the House Majority Leader. That's, I saw that bill, that department is part of 9/11 history. The anti-American divisiveness of the left, of racists on the left, attacking white people, attacking American institutions, that is an extension of 9/11. I remember very well Code Pink running around screaming in the anti-war protests in D.C. before we went into Iraq. I remember hanging my head out the window, telling a bunch of stinky, smelly shitheads, you guys don't get your asses out of the street. I'm going to run your asses over. You're making me late for work. 9/11. Has the world become a better place? No. You can sit there and you can rationalize Obama's presidency any way you want. And you can cheerlead and really honestly believe that he represents you, but he doesn't. But he was, his presidency is an aftermath of 9/11 because, hey, using white guilt worked. It helped him do everything he's ever done in his life. He's the wealthiest ex-president we have except for Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton's a huge grifter. I don't care if a person's black, white, red, or yellow. But if your bottom line is to do everything you can to hinder the United States economy, to hinder its defense and security, and you want to be president, and you are president, then you aren't a very good person. And if you walk out of that office far wealthier than you were when you took office, then I have legitimate concerns about where you got that money. All right? DC and the elite establishment in this country have a lot to answer to, and that is an aftermath of 9/11. We got a president right now who donates a salary back to different departments and in the federal government that need, monuments being cleaned up and different things. We have a president right now who's losing money because he wanted it to do something good. You might not like the way he does it. You might believe the lie that he's some sort of horrible anti, black, Hispanic, whatever guy. Look at the polls. Look at the polls. Donald Trump's presidency is an aftermath of 9/11. All right? Tea Party was. Antifa was. Black Lives Matters is. 9/11 was a Pandora's box in history. And I'll never, you, come here, just a minute. All right, I gotta go. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to ramble a little bit about 9/11, and I gotta feed this thing, but I gotta take him out first. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, guys, and I'll see you around the galaxy.